What's up, everyone? Thralls here once again. I'm Necrotic Nick.
Jammin John.
And we're back with another retro review. And this one's, definitely interesting. It's a very strange album. It's also one that I literally just picked up on Thursday. I did not realize that this was the lone studio full-length from this band. And I had no idea what they were about because I had not listened to it yet.
I've never heard of them either until right now.
Yeah, this was kind of John's suggestion. He was like, well, you've never listened to that. I've never listened to that. Let's just check it out. Like, well, yeah. Okay.
How do you get a more honest review than something we've never heard?
My God. So, we are going to go over the lone studio full-length from Transgressor, Ether for Scapegoat. This originally came out in August or January.
There's varying...
Yeah.
Yep.
In 1992, we're certain of that, on Cyber Music. This band formed in Tokyo, Japan in 1989, originally under the name Gamvetta. I don't know what that is, but they were that from 88 to 89, and they changed their name to Transgressor. Again, this is their lone full-length, and, well, since we struggle with foreign pronunciation, we split the duties here.
Yes.
I'm going to say the guitarist's name, which are Yoshio Hasegawa and Kimihide Kumagai. That's
Kumagai.
That's the guitarists.
Yep.
And how about the rhythm section?
Yeah, I'm going to take the rhythm section. On bass, there's Akihito Kikuchi and drummer Takashi Tanaka.
Now, Gamvetta actually had some different members in it. They actually went on to do Vomit Remnants, which is a pretty popular brutal death metal band from Japan as well. Now, these guys, when they got together as Transgressor, they recorded 2 demos in 89 and 90. Transmigration and Twisting Brachus? Not entirely sure what that last word is. And they did 1 split EP with Jesus Save, not Jesus Saves, only saves once, I guess. So it's not multiple ones. And that was in 1991, and not long after that they signed to Cyber Music and worked on their full length, which is what we're about to go over, and holy shit, it's weird.
Yes.
On the surface, I guess you could say this is death metal, but there's a lot of other stuff going on in this. This is a very strange album.
Thrash and doom, but so weirdly placed. The opening track, Whiteness, starts with creepy noises and like a sleuthy kind of weird bass.
Yeah, there's a fair amount of like isolated bass on here, but this intro was, well, strange. And then it goes into... I guess you could say it's sort of a flurry of start-stop riffing of different types. Like, you get a little bit of a death doom section.
Yep.
You get a little bit of a death metal section. And very technical, and then it finally kind of centers in on one sound, but don't get used to that because this band does not like to center in on one sound.
And not only that, they transition strangely between those varying modes, we'll call it.
Yeah.
It is all over the map, and it's an 8-minute and 20-second opener.
Yeah, like a lot. There is a lot to process on this. It feels like stitched together moments, and the transitions in between are very avant-garde-ish, I guess you could say. Like, they don't make a tremendous amount of sense. Actually, the first half of this, I would say, I was pretty much kind of struggling with, like, either these guys are musical geniuses, next level songwriters, or they are just winging it and trying to figure out how one transition goes into the next little bit. And I think it's the first one because, honestly, as this album goes on, I guess you could say it gets more cohesive. It's very strange. This band has so many different things in its wheelhouse, and they seem like they do them all well. It's just the transitions are kind of the odd parts, because all of a sudden you'll get like synth blurbs and weird atonal riffing that I swear whatever weird crawling scale they're using was probably invented by them, and it doesn't make a lick of fucking sense. but somehow that kind of works with the strange vibe of this album, because this is a weird listen.
Overall, I'd call it dark. Dark and disturbing.
This is like what an insane person thinks death metal is. Him, actually, yeah. It's maybe not him, but someone with his hair right now. That's
right,
for damn sure.
You like that? Fucking like that? Yeah.
You know that guy that's been fishing through your trash and asking you for hair from your comb? Not so he can eat it. That'd be ridiculous, right? It's so he can make a hair doll and fuck it. Yeah, it's someone like him. It's not Jammin' John.
It's not me.
If it is, let him in the house. He's a nice guy.
I need to come in. It's cold. It's cold outside.
It's January. Come on, let him in. But
can I come in?
This is just absolutely insane death metal, death doom. Like, I don't know. Like, for a while, I just didn't know where it was centering on. Like, for the most part, I thought it was death doom. Like, because it has a lot of slow Sabbathy sections.
It does, but it doesn't stay there. But it always reverts back to that. Like, overall, yeah, it's a death metal album, but I think it's a lot of death doom. Death doom moments happen throughout this record more so than any other type of genre.
Like, that's the holding pattern. That's the orbit they have.
That's the well they go back to, and it's a good one because these guys write hella awesome riffs. Honestly,
regardless of the shifts in style and meter. Just approach in general, we'll just call it that. It's nice and broad.
Yeah.
They write killer riffs.
Yes.
They're hooky. They're very catchy. The production, I mean, it's definitely very raw and,
compressed.
Yeah, compressed. The guitar tone is oddly fuzzy. Like, someone compressed the living hell out of, like, honestly, some of it kind of reminded me of, like, Black Sabbath. Like, the early Black Sabbath tones, like, first 3 albums. If you really compressed that and took away a lot of the warmth and fuzz, you might have this one.
That's fair.
Drums are very raw sounding, but they're doing all sorts of crazy, chaotic things. So, I don't know. It's very strange. Honestly, the only thing that sounds really clean on here is probably the bass.
And he's got a lot going on. The bassist is a very good bass player. Like in the song Disembodied/Suffocation, the bass kind of carries that opening groove. It's got a kind of a quiet guitar melody and just like a bass and drum straightforward kind of punch, like stomper groove for a minute.
And some of these songs really start off weird. Whiteness has that weird bass intro with the synths, and I don't know, it sounds like the bassist is being propelled into a black hole full of other synthesizers. And then you have Immense Extinction, which starts off with a hi-hat, and then a hi-hat, and then a hi. It starts and stops.
Yeah.
Just kidding, it's not starting here.
But when every time it restarts, it adds a couple of extra hits to it. And there's no rhyme or reason to be like bop, 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 bop. For like 20 seconds.
Yeah, fuck a time signature, I guess. But honestly, like, fuck it to contemporary music is kind of the feel on most of this album.
Yeah.
But Disembodied Suffocation essentially starts off with the Jaws theme. Yeah, it's just, drums and the bass and the guitars just doing kind of their version. Yeah. Except out of the ocean pops Jammin' John and his crazy hair, and he's going to ask you about, your hair, possibly some toenails that he could borrow.
Can I borrow your toenails?
And,
a whole collection of them.
Yeah, you're just going to have to deal with that conversation. I'm trying not to right now. Now, honestly, where I started to kind of hone in on this, because the first 2 tracks are a mindfuck, and again, that totals about 16 minutes worth of music right there in those first 2 tracks. The song Mortal Agony, the 3rd track, is kind of where it starts coming together, at least a little bit. Well, I mean, it gets weirder later, but, you start getting used to that. That one just seems maybe a little bit more structured. Like, it's riff after riff, of course, but the transitions are less weird. I mean, they still definitely get weird, and there's some odd moments in there, like towards the end where a jet took off in the studio. It's probably
they recorded near an airport.
Yeah, definitely near an airport. Either that or the cat walked across the synths and was like, record it. Sounds good. But Mortal Agony, after you get the really interesting isolated bass intro, which I think was pretty cool, goes from doom metal to flat out thrash metal, and then to even doomier doom metal.
Doom.
And
you're all doom.
That's kind of where it settles.
Yep.
When this band gets fast, and I mean, again, this is kind of a good comparison anyway, because this is also a weird band from Japan. It kind of reminds me of Psy. Psy excels at being strange. That's why we're listening to them, because that's the only thing that felt appropriate. After listening, it's like, I need something weird. Oh yeah, Psy. And they're Japanese. Perfect.
Yep, perfect. And as we continue to talk about getting more cohesive, the last couple songs, Transmigration and Limbless Doom. Transmigration, I think, takes on more of the thrash embodiment for sure.
100%.
It's Slayer meets like Power Trip and early Sepultura.
Definitely, like, it's high octane, like, it's very fast. Like, Disembodied Suffocation has faster moments, but it still pivots back and forth between the doom. This one is all fast. Like, you get either thrash rhythms, like that straight up, like, Slayer fucking headbanging groove, or you're getting flat out blast beats. And that was kind of teased at the end of Disembodied Suffocation with a kind of carcass-like end to it with blast beats and just, you know, grindcore riffing. This one is probably the most cohesive song, and even Limbless Doom is actually more cohesive, or at least more cohesive for them. Like, there's still weird riff flips and odd melodies, again, like atonal tremolos.
But that gross obituary crawling riff.
And there's some really catchy harmonies in Limbless Doom, too. When it came down to harmonies early on, like, again, some of them are so off the wall, it just sounds like they're hitting any note. Immense Extinction, once again. There's a harmony in there that it's so unsettling. Like, it just...
It is. It's just unnerving. It's just like, ugh.
I think there's synths in the background of that one, too, just to make it even stranger. But this last song, and actually the last three, this is kind of a point where, like, this is really cohesive. Like, this makes sense. This sounds like a quote-unquote normal band.
Oh, okay. I get what they're... Okay.
Which gives this album a really unique appeal, because it starts off crazy. It's like someone just dumped an entire 100,000 piece puzzle. I don't know if they make those. They probably shouldn't. That's just sadistic. Yeah.
That would be terrible.
Someone just dumped it on the table, and then they came back to you years later, and it's more assembled. Like, that's kind of the feel in this album, because towards the end, it's more straightforward.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's not necessarily an endurance test, but there was a lot of just odd glances shared between us, like, what did we listen to? Like, oh, fucking hell.
Right. How do I describe this? It's like, with me? Yeah.
There's also that, you know, that one part that goes, you know, that one part.
Wheelie, wah.
Yeah, that part's in there. It's a very strange listen, but honestly, it's one of those strange listens. I can't really, like, throw this in tech death, because it's too avant-garde and strange. There's way too much death doom in it, and calling it death metal is way too basic.
Yeah. Yep.
And saying it's progressive is accurate, but I don't think any Dream Theater fan's gonna appreciate it.
Right, exactly, yeah. What the fuck? Yeah, and to call it, you know, thrash, not so much. To call it death doom, there's elements, but it's really all over the map. There's not really, I think, a solid descriptor other than avant-garde to describe this.
Avant-garde death metal seems to suit it. It's a playlist of metal put together by a crazy person. And actually, it kind of works. Honestly, I'm super glad we did this one, because A, completely a first exposure here, and B, this is pretty fucking unique. And it's weird, again, like how it kind of assembles itself as it keeps going. Like, it became more cohesive, and I kept thinking, like, is this making more sense, or am I just getting crazier listening to this?
Right. Have I just acclimated to this in the sense, like, okay, it's not weird anymore?
Yeah, this album is a bit of a head scratcher, but it's kind of a head scratcher in a cool way, because I was really drawn in. Like, I was super curious where this was going. Yes. And it definitely went places. I'm not entirely sure where, but I liked it. And I don't know, man. This is just a weird one. But again, like, if you're able to get past, like, the first 3 tracks and still keep your head on and keep listening, the whole album kind of starts, again, making a little bit more sense. So overall, I'm going to give this 4 stars. I really enjoyed this. Like, I have some production issues. You know, it is definitely a little raw, and some of the transitions are so fucking weird. But honestly, it kind of keeps it fresh and unique. And by the time you get to the end, the big payoff with, like, you know, the hyper-aggressive thrashy stuff and stuff that isn't just trying to be strange, it just kind of shows you these guys are great fucking songwriters, and maybe they were fucking with you. I don't think they were. I think they were just like, listen, let's just do some weird shit. And for the most part, it really fucking works on here.
Yep.
Solid album. Definitely check out this weirdness.
Yep. 4 stars for me as well. I keep trying to figure out how I'm going to explain this record and what I listen to. And it's kind of like, you know, you go to get in the car, you're going somewhere you've never been before, you want to use your GPS, but your phone's dead, so you plug in your phone and you start driving, and you wait for it to charge, and eventually you get to the point where it's charged, and then you can use your GPS and find your way. That was kind of how this album was. Really all over the map until the end, where it eventually had the payoff. Extremely talented musicians to be able to do this kind of work.
Yes.
Especially in the first few songs, because most of those transitions were on a dime. And from mode to mode, from genre to genre, it wasn't the same ever.
No.
It was a really challenging listen, but again, that's the fun of metal for me in general, is the challenge to it. They're like, what the fuck was that? And I like that kind of stuff. And this was just so weird, it really makes you think.
Yeah.
Because you can't just say normal shit about it, because it's far from normal.
It's like trying to describe an acid trip you had, like, 2 years ago.
Yeah. And maybe that's it. Maybe they wrote this record on drugs.
They were clearly coming down towards the end. Like, all right, let's just write some more.
There it is.
I was like, I stopped seeing the giant chicken in the corner. I think we're good now.
Yeah. But, I mean, really entertaining riffs.
Yeah.
Riff after riff after riff. And when they doom, man, they really doom hard.
Dude.
It's pretty nasty. So, yeah, definitely check this out. This was a first for me, too. And holy shit. Probably going to have to listen to it again to see if I can make sense of anything.
All right, so here comes the what happened part. Well, they're still around, but after this album, they broke up like a lot. So they ended up breaking up in 93, not long after this album was released. Then they reformed in 96 and then broke up in 97. Then they reformed in 2000 and broke up in 2002. They reformed and broke up in the same year, 2015, and then they reformed in 2019. And
they're still together.
They're still together. So I figured it might be, you know, a lot of them being in other bands. I know 2 of the members were in ANATOMIA, and I believe one of the other members is still in there. Takashi was also in Wako Jesus. I'm not entirely sure how to say that one, but I know that band's fucking weird. But they're kind of spread out, I guess, over, you know, Japan's wild and crazy metal scene in general. So, you know, there might have been internal conflicts. It's really kind of hard finding information on this band.
Yes.
But
I Googled it, and the only thing it brought up was Encyclopedia Metalum.
Yeah, that
which was
it.
The same thing it brought up for him, so...
Yeah.
Who knows?
So in terms of, like, all the breakups and reasonings, I don't know, but...
It's like a toxic relationship.
Yeah.
Fuck you, I love you, let's get together. No, fuck you, I'm leaving. No, I mean, really, we're good.
Let's have a kid, that'll fix everything. Like, no. What do you mean you want custody? Wait, I don't want it, actually. Yeah.
Too late, let's break up.
Yeah.
Now let's get together and buy a house.
Yeah, and have another kid.
Yep, have another kid. Get some property, maybe a dog.
Picket white fence. Also, let's form a death metal band again. I don't know why, but I'm kind of glad they're here, unless they have a scheduled breakup that I don't know about, and I'm going to just say don't do it, because...
Don't.
I would love to hear a follow-up to this, because in terms of follow-ups to this, the only thing this band has done is splits. They've done a lot of splits. They had a split before they put out the full length. They did at least 2 afterwards, maybe 3. And those were with some, you know, solid bands too. They did one with Ocean of Zero, which is really good. And they also did one with Impetigo, which is a pretty celebrated underground band as well. Outside of that, it's a lot of compilations of unreleased material. In fact, the CD that I've been looking at in front of me, just so I remembered song titles, actually has 3 tracks in it that are non-album tracks for this, and it doesn't say where they all came from.
Recorded in an undisclosed location.
Yeah, or undisclosed release, but they still record music, which is important because I would like to see this done live, because if they're improvising, I don't know if I could tell.
Well, plus it's been almost 31 years, almost to the day.
Yeah,
since this release, and if you're gonna still be around after that long, I don't know, maybe try something again. Because I want to know if this is what it sounded like 31 years ago. They have to have gotten better, right? So I kind of want to hear that, because there's nothing else like this really that I can think of.
Beyond a strange album, but I mean, I'm down for another release.
Yeah.
So this is an obscure, weird album, and if you're looking for something to essentially break out of your death metal mold and get weird, this is the album to do it to. So if you enjoyed this review, give it a thumbs up, and if you are new to the channel, subscribe, because we do stuff like this all the time. We are also on Patreon. If you would like to help us out, there's a link down below, and T-shirts are coming. We are pretty much waiting for word so we can approve a design. Mostly it's just the dimensions, because the design's fucking sweet.
Yes,
we
it
can't
is.
wait to show it off.
Yes, it is. Badass.
Oh, man. But when we do get it, we are going to do an announcement video, show off the shirt, and that'll be tied in with a giveaway, because we are super close to 10,000 subscribers, which is still fucking weird.
Unreal. It's unreal. I don't have anything to compare it to. I never thought it would get to this point.
Wow.
Really?
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for watching us in spite of us.
Yeah, this is the part of the video where we kind of struggle what to say, because we keep saying thank you a lot, but know that we mean it, and
we really do.
We're looking forward to keep cranking out stuff. We still have stuff we want to do for retro reviews, because there's a lot of weird stuff out there that we wanted to cover.
Yep.
And this was yet another example that there are hidden treasures out there to... Well, I know this one's out to fuck your brain pretty hard, but there's all sorts of other cool stuff too. So with that, we thank you all once again for watching, and we will catch you later.